Warning, this podcast has some swears in it.
I'd rate it PG-13 at most, but let's just be on the safe side and say viewer discretion is advised.
That's Paladin class gamer Cole here immediately shift from win the game to kill the Lich.
Listen, it's a honorable goal, an honorable quest, if you will, to rid this world of evil.
Yeah, sure. Let me hit the bong.
The villain of the last week of Commander games that I'd played is currently hitting the bong before we get started.
I really am, though.
Oh, God, it's so true.
You've got the guy, tapping on the president's shoulder, and he's just, Mr. President, I fear Empress Quinn's become even more powerful than ever before.
Time to raise your blades, heroes.
And check some vibes.
It's the Hero's Blade Vibe Check.
Rip it and rip it.
That's satisfying.
Hell yeah.
It's nice to have a can in hand for these episodes.
Oh yeah, I got some fucking things to say. I'm about to run my mouth.
So business as usual then.
Yeah, dude, that's why we have a podcast.
Yep. So as I have been struggling with my computer for what feels like forever, I feel like I got a new CPU. It took a while, but we figured it out, what the issue was, and so far nothing has happened, and so far nothing will happen as long as I am doggedly determined to make sure nothing happens. But nothing has happened yet. Nothing's crashed. So in the meantime, instead of being waiting for the Fallout London mod to get updated by the devs, and playing God knows what other PC video game, I have been playing Pokemon Emerald Sea Glass for the last week or so.
Yeah, I've seen you posting about that. You seem excited.
So Generation 2 games, Silver was my first Pokemon game.
Oh, mine
and
too.
So I was introduced to oh wow, 8-bit graphics and Pokemon and all this other stuff, but there's actually color distinctions and blah blah blah. And then I played Generation 3. Ruby was my first Game Boy Advance Pokemon game, and I'm yeah, this is super fun.
The fucking reflections on the water, I was mind blown.
Fucking who, what, and all this, everything that at the time a modern day Pokemon game was. I'm
bro,
wow, 16...
using dive in the whole underwater sections. Oh, anyway, that's all fangirling. Continue.
Well, I should probably look up the name, but the person who made Emerald Sea Glass basically replaced nearly every sprite that isn't a cutscene or a game move with an 8-bit equivalent. Including overworld sprites. They incorporated Pokemon following you in the game, which feels good, and they have unique sprites for all the Pokemon that they included, including some of the Gen 4 plus evolutions or alternate evolutions, and they also threw in the Applin line from the modern games that turn into Hydrapple and all that other stuff. So that was
I love those guys. They're so silly.
So it was what do you, so there's a lot of modern things that are added. Rather than having the types be tied to special or physical, they did split them as more Gen 4 plus onward did. So if you hit something with a blade-like move, it is a blade, it is physical. You hit them with a psychic attack, it is psychic, it runs off a different stat. They did some typing updates, which I was this is sick. Sceptile, Dragon type. like grass dragon. I was like, sick.
Why? What?
Yeah, because its Mega Evo evolution was a dragon grass type.
Oh.
Altaria got updated from dragon flying to dragon fairy, like its Mega evolution.
Okay.
Doduo and Dodrio became ground flying types, so I was like, okay,
Are those
that's
just
neat.
like Pokemon that you usually use in the Mega Evo? So they're just like, we already know that this is the way that you would be using this Pokemon if we had exactly
Well,
that. So
yes
we're giving you
and
this.
no, because like they even did just like random typing updates to just Pokemon you didn't even expect to get one that never had a Mega evolution. So like Ekans and Arbok from Gen 1 are poison dark types. So I was like, oh
Okay.
wait, so they gain psychic immunity. That's super cool. Okay. What else, you know? And it goes a little bit further there. And speaking of dive, there's a mini game in Pacificlog Town where because they added so much. It's ridiculous. But anyway, there's a like a bug catching contest like in Gen 2.
Mm-hmm.
You would instead go into a diving contest. And they're like 3, 2, 1, go, and you dive in and you have about 200 steps to try to find like the strongest, highest level, coolest Pokemon down there. And yeah, that's super fun. Just buzz around and be like, I'm gonna catch a Wailmer early or whatever, because they allowed you to get there from one of the other towns after you beat Brawly in the second gym. So it was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of cool stuff going on there. I got way too many shinies already. I've made an all dragon team because I'm about that dragon trainer life.
Yes,
So-
dude, I love to be a dragon trainer.
So here's the team before we really get into the swing of things here. So I got Altaria,
Mm-hmm.
I got Sceptile,
Mm-hmm.
I have Hydrapple,
Mm-hmm.
Mega, Yon Mega got updated to Bug Dragon. So
Hell yeah.
that's part of the team. Flygon is part of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And I got Kingdra.
Nice. I've always
on the
thought Flygon was a cutie, BT dubs. And
It
it comes
is.
from like that little Trapinch guy, like what?
Yeah. Yeah. Good old little, I can't remember what type of bugs they're called or what they're supposed to be. Sand lions or lion, I can't remember. Anyway, so, and then speaking of leaks, or speaking of Pokemon, what?
Antlion?
Antlion, there we go. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's supposed to
Yeah.
be antlions that become mature over time, and then everyone was like, why don't they become bug dragons? And then the mod person's like, Yon Mega, and everyone's like, okay, acceptable, I'll take that.
Hell yeah.
And then and then there was a bunch of Pokemon leaks that we won't really go into because this isn't that podcast for that, but there was beta sprites of a bunch of Gen 3 Pokemon, and that included Trampinch, Vibrava, and Flygon.
Oh, that's
And
cute.
Vibrava's, I think it's Vibrava, or maybe it's Flygon, but it looks derpy as fuck, so it's super funny. It's super funny to see, like, all this jank pre-build stuff before they finally they got the designs down and the sprite artist got to work, and yeah. It's a weird time for Pokemon right now, and if you know, you know, and if you don't know, don't look into it.
I hear a lot of people are feeling very connected to Pokemon, like as a franchise and as a community right now, though, so they've got that going for them.
It's very exciting to learn about what could have been, and hopefully if whatever they put on the cutting room floor, they bring back. And also because it has been so radio silent for the next Pokemon game, and it's been like a couple years already, people are excited because it actually means they're getting the time to make it, rather than be like, ship it, and then, I don't know, you get like Pokemon X and Y, which felt very underdeveloped.
I can't weigh in on that. I liked those.
Yeah.
I play Pokemon extremely casually.
Yeah, I have only recently gotten into like EV training them for like specific stats, and they made it really easy in Scarlet and Violet. But other than that, like I'm usually like like, I don't know, can I run through the game start to finish and then goof around or whatever, then like, yeah, that's pretty much my goal.
Yeah, I'm
Can I
just trying to
transfer
like
my
spend time with cool guys, basically.
Yeah. Like, wow, that's a cool guy. Hey, this new cool guy showed up. I don't want to play with you anymore.
Yeah, and then there's some people that you just like get instantly attached to and you carry them with you through the rest of the game. Like Tinkaton, Tiny Girl, Big Hammer.
Yes.
Huge
Oh, they
fan.
also put that in the mod. In
Incredible
Emerald Sea
character design.
Yes, amazing, top tier, hilarious. Quinn, tell me you're not the type of person to abandon your starter Pokemon.
I do like to use my starter Pokemon, but I feel like once I get like either in the post game or close to the post game, unless they're serving some like really strong type coverage, then I might like try a different Pokemon. It really depends. I think I usually complete the game with the starter though. There's something emotionally about that like
Yes,
that's my guy.
I'll do that. I will do that much at least, but like when my girlfriend like was like, "Oh, I'm playing Sword. I'm going to get rid of my starter." I'm like, "You are evil. You do not deserve this experience."
I don't know if I go that far, but I do kind of cringe internally.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a starter believer till the end of time, but
Well, they make them really good is the thing. Like they give them good stats and abilities and moves.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really incentivized to carry that with you.
They're, having Blaze or Overgrow or Torrent, it's like, yeah, I would love to be at critical HP and do more damage with my water and or grass or whatever attack.
And also they like me, so they just dodge everything.
Yes, they're like, they withstood a blow for you, and you're just like, bro.
I'm just like, all right, this is definitely going to make you faint. You'll just tank that and we'll switch in somebody else and we'll finish this battle and move on. And then they're just like, they withstood the blow so you wouldn't be sad. And I'm like, sick. We get another turn.
we do hit him again. Yeah, no, it's a good time. God, that's a lot of Pokemon talk for a non-Pokemon podcast.
Yeah, well, it's the thing that you're passionate about. Whatever. You have the mic.
Yeah. But hey, you know what? Magic's still pretty good. And we are, I don't know what set's coming up next, so there's a bit of levity right now, in terms of kind of like everything. Like, I think outside, what, is Foundations next year, I think?
No, Foundations is this year.
Oh,
and
wait,
I think
is it?
either...
I guess the year's not over yet. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and either this weekend or next weekend, we're going to see previews for that Marvel thing, and maybe cards for Foundation.
Maybe they'll also give us Final Fantasy as a treat.
Oh, I would please just show me Cloud.
I want Cloud Strife on my desk.
If you do nothing else, show me Cloud, please.
Yeah, give me that pretty boy. Give me that big ass sword. I want him to have like Omni Slash or whatever. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah.
Oh yeah. Triggered ability limit break, bro.
Oh jeez. Give me. Oh yeah.
Please just show me the card. So
I want the Buster Sword equipment. I want to see Clive from Final Fantasy 16 have a flip card so he can transform.
Where's my Sid vehicles deck?
Where's my 20 Sid cards to put in a Sid deck? I want Sid from every game. You can make it work, people. I believe in you. We got the power. We got the technology.
You can have Sid from like 2 games. Relax.
Okay, fine. Look. All right. They have a legacy named character. They can add a little more than 2. But anyway. Let's go into vibe checks.
Yeah, let's check some fucking vibes or whatever. That's what the podcast is about. I'll start. We got Mabel, heir to Cragflame, and I'm saying, yeah, she passes the vibe check. Mabel's a 3/3 for 1 red-white, and she's a mouse soldier. She gives other mice +1/+1, and when she enters, you make Cragflame, a legendary colorless equipment artifact token with equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has vigilance, trample, and haste. I think if you're going to be a 3-drop legendary creature that I want to be attacking with, and you enter the battlefield after I play my Hero's Blade on turn 2, you are way alright in my book, babes. And
Mm-hmm.
having actually played that, like I did the thing, it whipped ass. We had a Mabel on like turn 4 with 6 power, ready to swing. Nobody's ready for that. And it's turn 4, so I can equip Cragflame too. Like, what are you gonna
Yeah,
do? I'm
like
taking a third of your
you
life
should
for your
have the
commander
mana in
damage.
surplus for
Beep
sure.
beep.
The more that we keep doing this, the more that I'm just like trying to find ways to put more Heroes Blades into like this 3+ drop decks, because holy shit, this card just does so much work for what we're up to anyway.
Yeah, it feels really good. And people will actually be like, what the fuck? Why does that get +3? And then I'm just like, Heroes Blade.
I don't know, just shrugs shoulders. I don't know what the Khans of Tarkir design team was up to. No, Fate Reforged, but still, it's just like, yeah, it does the job. What are you gonna do something about it? They're like, blow up Heroes Blade. I'm like, fuck, fine.
Yeah,
You
I'll
got
take
me.
that. You spend removal on my Heroes Blade, my checks notes 2 mana draft uncommon. Sure.
It did its job then. I am just still incredibly tilted beyond belief.
Oh, you. All right, what do you have that passes the vibe check or not?
Um, so 4-color clue deck featuring Elmar and Heartguild. It's been established several times over that Elmar does pass the check. You have an aggressive 3-mana 3/2 with haste that also has some further upside by being able to untap itself
Oh
when
yeah,
you
we're
cast your
getting
second
in there.
spell.
Mm-hmm.
So hey, 6/4 sounds good. But her guild, however, by being a more or less dedicated mana dork and utility creature, doesn't. And offensively, that is. Defensively, though, yeah, you're having a blocking human that can tap for mana for whatever purpose you need. Um, and if something
Mm-hmm.
happens later, like you can have the 2 mana that she activates for to move the Hero's Blade where you need it to. Um,
Oh shit, yeah,
but
that's legal.
that hey, artifact spells and equip and basically the activation of artifacts. So, um, sacrifice clue tokens or move your Hero's Blade because that
Yeah, so you're
you
like
can't pay
sitting up
for.
there with Hargild ready to block just like all turn, and then it gets to your turn, and then you tap her and you crack a glue or whatever. That seems pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. Um. So yeah. Other than that, she's either sticking in the zone until she's needed or whatever. What's your other one for this week?
I am back on my Boros bullshit with a Nahiri Forged in Fury. She's a legendary
Mm.
creature core artificer for 4 red white, and she's a 5/4. But she's got affinity for equipment. And whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, you exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. You may cast equipment spells this way without paying their mana costs. This girl is so strong in the go wide equipment decks. You draw a bunch of cards and can cast equipment spells for free, and you want to have a significant density of those because you're playing go wide equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Homegirl's really good, and affinity for equipment makes her come down for like she's usually a 4 mana 5/4, and the Hero's Blade is an equipment. She enters, picks that up. It's reducing the cost of her and making her just unbelievably thick, like an 8/6. Nobody's prepared to answer that.
Yeah. Um, she's kind of reminding me of my Imskier deck,
Mm-hmm.
where same stuff. You're playing your equipment or your equipment creatures, and reducing the cost of your commanders. So when your commander comes out and picks up that Hero's Blade or gets equipped with, I don't know, Rabbit Battery or whatever, like you're
Mm-hmm.
going beep beep, let's go. And my severely undercosted commander has some upside, and yeah, it's good time.
Feels real fucking good.
How many creature equipment cards are you running in the deck?
We got a couple. It's not like the focus of the deck, so we didn't just slam everything that said reconfigure in there. But we've got
Mm-hmm.
Lion Sash, and I think we're on Rabbit Battery as well, because those two in particular are real good. And then we've got Lizard Blades because Double Strike and
Double
Bloomburrow core.
Strike, yes. Yep. Very good. Love that. Um, so my final one for this week is Quende Pride Ephemerith. This has been on a white deck that I've had around for a very long time,
Mm-hmm.
since the start of Uncommon Commander back about 3 years ago, I think.
Damn.
I really wanted to get the a numbered one when
Oh,
they had,
serialized.
yeah, the serialized one that they had. What was it, last year or the year before? I don't know. Um, Still a little spency to even think about getting one of those, but I did get like the alternate art one
Mhm.
with like the stained glass window from Dominaria. And look, you're getting a 2/2 double strike that gives your first strikers double strike, and also becoming a 5/4 himself is just a good way to lead your army. Um, I did get to play that deck recently. Um, as a matter of fact, I got to play that deck recently with someone from the Legendary Creature Discord in real life,
Oh,
in
sweet.
person. Super bizarre experience. Um,
It's hashtag meet your mutuals here. Like,
yeah.
we're doing it.
But even against like a Keranos deck that was focused on copying Keranos as many times as possible,
Oh, sick. Too many Kyranoses.
got a little out of hand, and then the table handled him, and then it was just me in a 1v1 with someone else, and they're just like, "Can you stop?" And I'm like, "Boy, I'm playing mono white. What the fuck do you want from me?" And they
Like,
they
you
beat
know
me,
I
of course.
can't.
But yeah, just the suite of really cheap stuff that you can get, or just things that you just really would not expect to like get really good when you give it double strike, all fits in there for super cheap. Um, and yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time with that deck.
Hell yeah. Guess it's
Uh,
time to get into this community section. We got
there's
some
so much.
comments. We got
There
some fucking comments.
uh we have had, obviously there's going to be a few people being repeated in this, and if you comment a little bit late, I do apologize, because some people comment after an episode comes out or after we record, and then we're like, we'll get back to you in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So we have Spotify stuff, followed by Twitter, and then one comment over on YouTube from some very familiar names and some unfamiliar ones, so let's just go through it here. This one I thought was really funny for these next two ones, but I'll go into it for a second here. So, Dragolution says, Done lost my damn mind with a Jund Lich brew. The excitement during the subbox had me really digging deep into the brews.
Yeah, me and Draco have been chatting about this. This deck looks fucking sweet. He's got Soul of Windgrace, who is a legendary creature cat avatar for 1 and black, red, green for 5/4. And whenever he enters the battlefield or attacks, you may put a land card from a graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control. And he's got 3 activated abilities. For a green, you can discard a land and gain 3 life. For 1 and a red, you can discard a land and draw a card. And for 2 and a black, you can discard a land, and Soul of Windgrace gets indestructible until end of turn. Tap it. And I thought that that guy was like uniquely situated for piloting a Lich deck with the activated ability of just like gain 3 life. You pay a green mana and discard a land into Ancestral Recall
Just
if you're a
drawing
Lich.
cards, yeah. That's pretty good.
And then he's got all of the like landfall, life gain, and burn tech that we talked about in my seminar on being a Lich. The Iridescent Vine Lasher, the fucking Underrealm Lich to prevent you from drawing out, and then the Splendid Reclamation and all of that. He's got red in his deck though, so he's got access to the red extra turn spell, so he's on Final Fortune.
And Warrior's Oath.
Yeah, and Warrior's Oath. So yeah, there's a lot of the things that we talked about in play here, and I'm excited to see how this plays out. Windgrace getting indestructible makes him really good for holding the packed weapon. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I we'll get to my Lich deck later. But it's tough out there trying to do this Lich shit.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of moving parts to consider and a lot of points of failure for the strategy, and like we talked about, the consequences for failure are extremely high. So it's just like, man,
I mean,
is this juice worth the squeeze?
You're already putting yourself in a bad position. And obviously the lower you go, the better it is to get your pieces out, but then everyone immediately zeroes in on you and be like, well, we can't have that.
Yeah, we can talk about that in a bit. But
Uh,
yeah, it's extremely cool to see these Lich decks showing up on my desk as I requested. Um, been having a lot of really cool conversations about Lichdom and different aspects that I hadn't considered. So yeah, shout out to everybody for weighing in on that and showing me your cool lists. Continue to do so while you're thinking about it. I will never not be interested in seeing a Lich deck.
I have been so happy to see people's reactions to our stuff,
Mm-hmm.
especially when people are like how inspiring or how inspired they get from listening to the both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that if there's anything that can be taken from this, on top of our very blatant universes beyond like positivity, uh, that we can do some, we can get people's brains going, probably in ways that they're just like, stop, please, I've already made a deck, I can't make another one, and then we're like, do it.
Yeah, I appreciate the well, being amused or whatever. That's really fun to me. All right, comment from Lenny here says, I don't play it in every deck, but I will continue to be a Smothering Tithe apologist. And Cole in here in the comments says,
So, so I I look at my phone and I have Spotify for podcasters logged into it just in case I need to do something on the fly, and I get comment notifications. So I looked, and I swear to God, because I couldn't find it later, and or if it was there, I don't know where it was, but I see a comment from dracolich pop up that says, "Stop that, Lenny." And I don't know. And I don't know it, like, I couldn't find it. I don't know if it was deleted or it got swamped under something else or it was a different episode that I couldn't find. Like, there was no notifications on, like, the website when I was going through stuff.
it never happened.
Yeah, I didn't see it. But anyway, yeah, I am simultaneously not surprised and also shocked, Lenny. Why would you do this to us? Okay, so hold on. Speaking of Smothering Tithe, before we continue, what deck did you play? Not recently, like maybe a few months ago, where you were like, "Yeah, I'll just play a Smothering Tithe," and I was just like, "This is not mid, Quinn," and you're like, "It's fine." I'm like, "Huh? Hello?" It's just,
that was my Abzan mid-range deck, and it literally was fine.
yeah. If we're talking about things that are if someone can be trusted. Anyway,
Not all that. Anyway.
let's go to Twitter. I had put out,
Yeah, our
hey,
social media manager.
we're getting in the booth. What's good? What's new? What's happening? Also, if you have a way where you've biffed it in a game of Commander, could you like put out a hashtag to drownsecrets.fm? Cool, thanks. Bye, love you. There's a lot of people who responded to that, so I'm happy for you to poke through those.
I'm very excited. I appreciate your support on that, everyone.
Lenny says, Winter Cynical Opportunist does not pass the vibe check. Between 5 toughness and Death Touch, he doesn't need it. That has me thinking, does Death Touch hurt the vibe check? To which
That's a great question.
I think that if we're looking at a Delirium deck and you want to keep Winter around, regardless of the Death Touch or not, I think it would actually work in his favor, even in case you end up like milling it into your graveyard, because then at least you still have a artifact to go towards Delirium. But that Death Touch does be doing some fucking work when he turns sideways on people.
I think having a 2-power Death Touch creature is a really good incentive to get through and get your attack triggers and have people not be too tilted at you for doing so. They'll be like, all right, whatever, take 2. If you add the power toughness to that, then you're like a credible Voltron threat, and yeah, it kind of changes how people threat assess that thing that you're mostly using for card advantage.
It's tricky. Yeah.
Does Death Touch hurt the vibe check? I'm gonna say yes on that, probably. Unless you're like trying to Voltron people or whatever, then I think that's fine.
And that's what Light said as a response to that particular thread. By saying, I would think so as a default, however, the minute Trample gets thrown in as addition, Death Touch inverts to a positive multiplier, in which case, yeah, it does.
Like in my mono black Ashnod deck, we want to assemble Trample because she already has Death Touch and holds the Hero's Blade real good.
Yeah. So obviously, like, it's context sensitive, but in case as is, like, yeah, probably not. When just probably good all by himself. Light has a comment for us that we both know exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah, we can be trusted. And Cole says no, you cannot be trusted. More on this later.
You know what it's about. We'll talk about it later, though.
Nick at Plaidclad says, alternatively, Rentmaw passes the vibe check. Big Scarecrow good on offense and defense. So true, bestie.
Well, I mean, look, it already has Menace, so, like, it's already doing you a lot of favors by that alone.
Yeah, get in there. Get those combat damage triggers.
And what are they going to do? Block you with those birds? I don't fucking think so.
No, those birds are tapped because they were required to attack. Shout out to Scarecrows who Scarecrows.
Renmaw is such a freaking cool design. This is from Sean Salisbury. I think both of them, aka us, are very cool, and I'm thankful to hear their insights every other week. Also, Loot, the key to everything, super doesn't pass the vibe check, but that doesn't make me love him any less. Insert Trenton here.
Yeah, I have been shown the light and also still think that a Loot Voltron deck is not the worst thing that you could be doing with the guy.
No, I mean, look, if we are in the age where obviously if your commander has some type of like built-in engine, you're less likely to try to put it in harm's way if you don't have to. But we are talking about a creature with a low enough power and toughness and curves out off a Hero's Blade that it kind of like works out as a 4/4 with Ward 1. But yeah, it's hit or miss thing, depending on what type of deck you're playing.
Next, we've got a comment from the lovely Medusa, who says, I love them both, and they're both amazing to listen to, and I very much look forward to the new episode. Thank you.
To which she also commented on the last episode that was on YouTube, where she says, I'm 50 seconds in and I'm already wheezing off of the lovely extended version of canon in Do Not Engage.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to put together. Thank you so much to everybody who super appreciated that.
It fucking killed me. That was so funny. I was like, the whole lead up to you making that to begin with, just off of your own tweet, and then I'm being like, you can make like an extended version, right? And you're just like, yes.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's so funny to just like have a bit in a tweet, and then I'm like, well, hang on. I can actually do that.
Let me cook. Hold on a minute.
And then I'm like, this smells delicious. Let's fully develop these flavors.
Yeah, so if anything, I mean, do yourself a favor and go back and listen to the opening of last episode just by itself, because it's definitely worth the time. Especially after the last, like, it hasn't even been a month yet since the proverbial shit has hit the fan for certain things. But all the more reason to do not engage and to move on with your life in time and peace.
So content.
Yeah. I want to say
Bam,
not a
bam, bam,
lot because
bam. New fucking host for MTG Lexicon. What?
yeah, I have this is something that's kind of been in the talks sort of in the background. But I have been officially asked and accepted to be part of MTG Lexicon, the die bar of EDH, along with Quinn here. Also,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, Lenny showed up too and was also introduced, but you know what? He's like, he was introduced and is like, cool, I gotta go to a wedding this weekend.
All right, that's enough
Priorities,
out of you
am I
two.
right?
I'm gonna put you two in the get along shirt.
Look, and
Yeah,
now
Lenny's
I
a
have,
host now as well, and shout out to both of you. We super appreciate having you both on the team, and you're incredibly good additions.
I need to have Brandon, the producer, show me how to run this stream machine.
Yeah, because I'm gonna be in Vegas, so someone's gonna do it
Yeah,
that's not me.
yeah. So I don't think it's this weekend, but it's next weekend, or is it this weekend? Because I think it
Next
was.
weekend.
Okay, good. Yeah, no. I know. All of you lovely listeners will be away, and you will not be tuning in, but someone's got to run it, and it might as well be me. And then
Yeah.
all of you can, like, open your phones and comment and be like, you should be in Vegas, you dick. And it'll be like, I don't travel, have money, or a passport, so deal with it.
All right, well, that
Um,
answers that pretty succinctly. Up next, we've got my video on tabletop jocks.
Fucking, oh my god.
Yeah.
I was like, look, I see some names and faces that I know who
Mm-hmm.
showed up on some earlier episodes, and I'm like, nah. Where's the Quinn episode? And then it finally showed up, and I was like, fuck yes, watch like the first game, and I'm like, oh no. Quinn.
Yeah, like we like alluded to several months ago when I talked about going to the cookout. We played two games, and game one we got stormed off on. Homegirl played Urbrask, the Saga one, and just absolutely fucking shredded. Cast like 20 something spells on her turn. The rest of us cast, I think, less than 10 spells collectively. The three other players. She just really like got in there early, got the business done, and took home the W. And we were like, all right, cool. Let's run that back.
Joe looking into the camera in pain, like, uh,
Yeah, so on game two, I showed the people what rule of law keeps us safe from. And we actually get to
yep.
play a game. And I put robots into play without paying for them. And Ultra Magnus is showcased very effectively. And I really just like super pleased with how that performed. I got to show off a Universes Beyond card playing high power magic in a pretty like wide, like in front of a lot of eyes. There we go.
Yeah, like, how more high profile can you get
Yeah, I felt pretty
when
good.
it comes to showing this off? Yeah. No, it's a
I'm
good
like
time.
playing Magic with my people. That's always a good time. Love it.
Yeah, thank God it was run back the second time and just made the episode longer. It was so perfect. Keep an eye out for a kitty cat in the background somewhere in that video. I thought it was pretty cute to see that. So this last bit for this week, or this episode, will be Salubrious Snail's half-hour video about You're Probably Wrong About Stacks in EDH.
I watched that. That's a good watch. I do think that gamers make they spend a lot of time on a distinction between like hate cards and actual stacks pieces and like things that slow people down or tax effects. And I'm just like, none of that fucking matters. That is not a meaningful distinction. You can try and explain those nuances to the people sitting across the table from you. They do not give a fuck. You're staxing them out. Just own it.
Yeah, it's just not it's either they don't care, which should probably instill fear into the Stacks player's heart, or they are mildly or exorbitantly irritated at the fact that they are being held at gunpoint to play the game fairly.
Yeah, there's not a meaningful difference in calling your Thalia a hate bear or a stacks piece. Like, it's the same to your opponent. So that's where I am on that.
It's reminding me of the game we played with Trenton and Laura, where I was playing Furia, and I had what's its name, the spirit that
Spirit of
Says
the
you can't.
Labyrinth.
Yeah, Spirit of the Labyrinth. Just like in the context of the game and what everyone was trying to do, what a bummer because you can't draw more than one card. But in my case, I was able to kind of alleviate that by activating Furia by casting a second spell. So it was like, cool. So this is the tech that's exclusive to this like deck. In any other context, oh my god, excuse me, any other context, I'd be absolutely irritated.
Yeah, but you built
But
your
I
deck
am the
around that
one.
stack space, so you're like, cool, I don't care, and the rest of you get to enjoy that.
Yeah. So it is what it is. And obviously, again, like you said, the nuances of it is either falls on deaf ears or people can be pretty receptive to it. But again, I do want to illustrate. It's a pretty. What I like about Silly Bruce Snail's episodes and structure and everything is that it's pretty clear cut and communicated very simply. So if you aren't a Magic player, you probably can still get it. And if you are a Magic player, you already have like some base knowledge of some kind, and then you can see how like where those distinctions come from. Also like kind of seeing the evolution of the game throughout the years as time has moved forward and how things have been discussed 10 years ago or 15 years ago versus now in terms of like, is this stacks or not question mark. It's a good listen. But otherwise, content, it is what it is. Listen to podcasts. That's what I like doing.
Oh, I've been listening to these guys, the Commander Pod on YouTube. I think most recently they dropped a video about salt in Magic the Gathering, things that generate salt, how to deal with that when you're experiencing it, and ways to like move around it or like through it. And I think that was a fun watch. And then the rest of their like back catalog is really like interesting and insightful. They do a lot of analysis into the kinds of experiences that specific cards can create, especially in like concert with other cards, and how all of that shapes the power level and the kind of games that they're trying to have. And they spend a lot of time and effort curating the correct gameplay experiences. And I think hearing them talk about that and getting ideas from that on how you can apply that to your own metagame is really cool.
I think because we've talked about it on oh my god. We've talked about it on and off ourselves. And probably some people can kind of get the gist of what our opinions are, this type of stuff, but intent really does matter. And like I think about a game we had the other night where I was playing Audric Bloodcurse and I was peeling ahead of everyone. And there's obviously like if you want to get the nuances and the nitty-gritty of like what do you do when you sit down with a group of people, some of who you know and some of who you don't know, what are the expectations, what are you bringing to the table, power mismatches can happen, but like where does it start and where does it end? And the usual part of it is it usually starts with what the fuck did you put into the deck and why did you put it in there. And it's like if you are looking to stack the shit out of opponents because that is a strategy that you're used to or want to commit to, then like, commit to the bit or understand why or why not it doesn't really suit what people are looking forward to. The other thing too, and this is something that I really do resonate with when it came to what Jim LePage said several times over now, was that build for common appeal or mass appeal as much as you reasonably can, because if your deck can resonate with other people, they will be more receptive to the things that are happening to them versus them just being like, feeling like they're being subjected to something. But yeah, I've gotten salty for more than one reason or another. I made you quit a game because I cast another board wipe. Which we'll not go into this episode.
I don't know how much that was salt or just like, I'm tired. You have hit the psychic damage barrier.
Was
They
it
don't tell you
salt?
this
Not
actually when you
necessarily,
start
but
playing Magic the Gathering, but you do have multiple health bars. There's your like actual health bar and then the psychic damage one. And if that one's full, you can just like say that your psychic damage meter is full and dip. It's fine.
yeah, there's the social battery, there's the did I eat before this battery,
That one's
so
so
on, so on,
real.
so on. It's just, yeah, been like, damn, my blood sugar's getting low. Time to eat something and get back in the game, and you're usually fine afterward.
Mm-hmm.
Usually.
Just like,
Being
why am I
hangry is
so
not a
upset
good
about
attitude.
getting attacked for 3? Oh, I haven't eaten recently. Okay, well, that explains that. Let me go handle
Yup.
that. I'll BRB.
Oh, so silly. So silly.
All right, let's get into
Command
decks and
pod,
games.
alright.
It's time.
It's time. Do you want to take it away, or?
Yeah, I'll start. I am in my hashtag cute core arc. Um, I'm gonna start this off with some hashtag Mabel posting. So somebody in one of the discords I'm in was talking about either like Valiant was clearly a mechanic designed for standard or 60 card rather, because you can play like 4-ofs in those formats, and there's just like not enough support for that mechanic to play in Commander, given the 100 card singleton nature of that. So I took that
You're
personally.
like, challenge accepted.
And so I was like, well, I mean, maybe you're right, but I literally won't know until I try, right? So we put together the Boros Mouse Valiant deck. We've got Mabel, Heir to Cragflame in the command zone. We've got just about every mouse in Bloomburrow in the 99. There's some other mice from others that were not as impactful as the stuff that we had available. So we're not really including those ones. But we've got just about everybody that says Valiant. And I actually like put this together on MTGO to begin with because I played a couple of Bloomburrow drafts and just like had those cards in my inventory, one of which was Mabel. So we were doubly encouraged to be like, all right, well, let's see if this fucking works. So it was just from the collection that we had initially before like buying singles. Which isn't to say that there were bad cards in there, because like we talked about a couple episodes ago, they put several of the Mirren swords in there. Like there's 4, I think, swords of X and Y in my deck currently. Yeah, we're in Body and Mind, Fire and Ice, Hearth and Home, and Truth and Justice.
The works, yeah.
Yeah, so you get some good cards in there. You put those on your mouse, and it's shit's fucking good. Hero's Blade mentioned. Like we talked about up top, we put Hero's Blade in the deck, and Mabel comes down with that. And on turn 4, you have the mana to equip Cragflame and maybe do another thing. So she's on 7 power, and people are usually not equipped to block that. And even if they are, she has trample. So it's like, how meaningful is it going to be? I think you're just going to take a third of your life via commander damage.
You have been making me constantly contest people's board states and be like, are you gonna block that? And more often than not, people are like, nah, I'm not.
Yeah, you gotta just fucking press people, because you just do a little bit of math and you make that bet on whether or not you think they'll block. And if you don't think they will, press them, send it in there and see what happens. Sometimes they will, and you lose your creature that you swung with, but whatever, you're a red mage, you'll find another one, you'll draw into more cards. It's literally
business
fine.
as usual for us.
In this deck particular, I have the Enduring Innocence and Tokasia's Welcome, both as like incredible card draw engines. Akiri, Fearless Voyager, when I attack with equipped creatures, she'll draw me cards. There's a couple of Valiant guys who will like either exile the top card of my library, or the motherfucking MV fucking P Whiskervale Forerunner, whose Valiant trigger lets me look at the top 5 cards of my library, and if there's a guy who is mana value 3 or less, if it's my turn, I just put that guy onto the battlefield. And if it's not my turn, then I put it into my hand. And just like a once per turn, putting a free creature into play with a Valiant trigger is extremely strong. If you have the Sword of Blink and Ramp, you can target that guy, trigger Valiant, blink
Oh
him, and
my
then reset
god.
him so he hasn't seen that he's done it yet,
Oh
and do it
jeez.
again when you put another sword on him.
Oh jeez. I had just recently gotten a new copy of Sword of Hearth and Home, and I've been shuffling the other copy around into my good old Esper equipment deck, and
Mhm.
oh boy, resetting your board with that card is just so cool.
It has been surprisingly strong. I always think that that's a really strong sword, and then I found another way to hack like mechanics or whatever, and it's just like, oh, I am the most powerful gamer that has ever gamed. No one's ever gamed like me. So yeah, that's all really cool. Fucking Nahiri, Forged in Fury, like we talked about up top. Homegirl is real strong in this deck as well. Even if I'm not like stacking my equipment on multiple like wide bodies, we can go tall on like 2 creatures, and even that, just like drawing 2 cards a turn, that's way more than what I was doing.
In a
So
Boros deck, it's so huge.
it really is fucking huge, and the cost reduction on that is incredible. I have a pretty significant density of equipment in the deck because Boros, Mouse Valiant, whatever. So Nahiri sees all of those and lets me cast the equipment that we rip off the top with her for free. Cheating on costs is one of the pillars of victory in this game, basically. So anytime that you get to do that, it's extremely powerful. In terms of things I'm just trying out, that new board wipe Split Up. I haven't gotten to
Mhm.
cast it yet, but it seems like it'd be pretty cool.
I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Yeah, like I'm trying to turn all my creatures sideways anyway, so if all my guys are tapped and your guys are untapped because you haven't been attacking or whatever, then we're wiping the board. Or if you have been attacking because I was a rude bitch with a disrupt decorum or something like that, then wipe the board with all tapped creatures, and then my guys are untapped, and then we go to combat. It seems pretty strong.
Yeah, seems pretty good.
The other day, I had an Orem's Thunder that I cast targeting a guy's Batterskull, and that broke the Batterskull, and I kicked it, so it dealt damage equal to the thing's mana value to another target creature. So we blew up the value creature, we blew up the Batterskull, and then the germ that was attached to the Batterskull dies too. And it felt really strong to 3-for-1 somebody off this card from Check's Notes Apocalypse.
Yeah, I had that card in Bloodrick a while ago, and I'm always thinking about it, to be honest. It just seems like pretty good
Yeah,
upside.
I had never seen that before, but I was just scrolling through things that said destroy target in MTGO to just like put something together to get this Boros Mouse Valiant deck out the door for like testing. And this was one of the ones that we just threw in, and it surprised me. So I think that's going to stay in. A thing that we actually picked up separately though was a chainsaw. We grabbed that in a draft actually of Duskmorn. We got the showcase printing. So we tried that out there. It was sick as hell and limited. Immediately was like, okay, putting this in the Boros equipment deck. And it continued to fucking rip. And I was like, all right, ordering 4 paper showcase copies. And we're
You
just
need to be
gonna.
stopped.
I can't be stopped. The chainsaw is so fucking strong. 3 damage will kill a surprising amount of things. I'm always talking about this. Bolt
Just
is still
lightning
good in
bolts,
EDH.
people. Come on. Look, you
And
gotta pull. Quinn, look,
mhm, mhm.
I am so happy that you did damage post combat.
Oh yeah, that was so rude.
You were like, hold on, wait. We'll now go to my second main phase and deal more damage to the thing that blocked and survived. And I was like, yes, you're doing it. Yes.
It's so crushing when you block a thing and you think, all right, I blocked that profitably and the damage is going to wear off at the end of turn. And then they're like, before we end the turn, you're like, no, not the follow up damage. No, I thought it was safe.
Yes. Yes. Do it. Do it.
Yeah, it's real good to get them with that. I am on the talking stick in this deck. I've got the Conqueror's Flail because I truly hate to be interrupted. And if I'm going to be playing equipment anyway, I might as well play the one that's got the big shush. Bladehold War Whip. It reduces reduces the cost of equip abilities and gives equipped creature double strike and has
Yes,
4
what the
Mirrodin,
hell?
and it's an uncommon. There's a whole lot going on there. A lot of cayenne on that card, as they say. Um, give that one a try.
Hmm.
We fucking believe in the cleave. We've got Ember Cleave in the deck.
I would expect
Truly
nothing less.
one of my favorite swords in the fucking game. I'm a huge fan. And then fighter class, MV fucking P of the deck actually. When
It's
it
so
enters the
good. It's
battlefield,
so good.
yeah, you search your library for an equipment and put that into your hand and shuffle, and you level 2, you discount your equip abilities by 2, and then level 3, whenever a creature you control attacks, up to 1 target creature blocks at this combat if able. So if you need removal, you can kind of force fights like that. If you have a big equip cost, you're cutting that in half. You're turning the equip of like Cragflame and every Mirren sword into 0, so you just move those around indiscriminately. You can trigger Valiant very easily once you've got that online. Any cost reduction in activating equip abilities is actually really strong. I'm thinking about getting some more of that in there. But I've been having a lot of fun playing Boros Mouse Valiant, just turning my guys sideways and really just like getting in people's faces with the aggro deck. That feels really good. I was expressing some desire to be playing that game style, that gameplay style recently, and this has been satisfying that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a bit about combat and battle cruiser later. Um, but when you think about, again, it's Boros carcinization. Everything returns to Crab. Everything returns to Boros equipment. You know, we've been there, done that.
And sorry for
Um,
fucking liking Boros equipment though. The shit whips. I'm having so much fun.
Look, there is no other way for you to tap into the power than being like, cool, I would like to cast and or find my swords for free, and then also equip them for free, and also turn my creatures sideways and have you eat massive amounts of damage, and then also not be able to do anything because it is pro X whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and time again, like, you get on the receiving end of one or two of them, and you're just like, geez, this is like, even some of the quote unquote worst ones are still cracked, you know?
Yeah, I think every one of those swords is incredibly impactful. I
Um,
actually have the Sword of Feast and Famine in my collection there. I just don't like that card, so we're not running it.
Fair enough. I'm not immune to the allure of sort of feast and famine myself.
Yeah,
Uh,
everybody wants to untap all their lands. I just think that that play pattern sucks. Take an extra turn or whatever.
I will on your turn.
No, ew.
um, you had me. I'm thinking of grabbing chainsaw for my Imskeer deck
Oh,
because
I think that's a good spot for that, yeah.
I have Vial of Hemlock in that deck, which is from Assassin's Creed.
Mm-hmm.
It gives equipped creatures and equipment you control death touch.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, is that how it's spelled? Hold on a second here. Um, can you do it at sorcery speed though? I hope not. Anyway, but the point being is I'm thinking of like throwing down that chainsaw,
Mm-hmm.
and then giving it death touch because, you know, why not? Hemlock's vile, excuse me.
Yeah,
Jeez.
Hemlock Vial. You can tap a black mana and sacrifice Hemlock Vial. Each equipped creature and equipment you control gains Death Touch until end of turn. Well, yeah, you can do that at instant speed. So you can put the Chainsaw ETB trigger on the stack
On a
and in
stack.
response, activate Hemlock Vial to give it Death Touch and make sure that anything it touches dies.
Um, Incredibly powerful. Obviously, like you said, like 3 damage is usually enough to do what it needs to do. You're getting someone's utility creature, their
Mm.
low mana value commander, and so on. And
And
obviously,
sometimes they
like,
slam that 6/6 dragon, and you're like, all right, I'm shooting that out the sky. Next question.
hey, if it gets the job done, that's all it needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
But there is something very mentally funny about seeing this cute woodland creature whip out a chainsaw and be like, "Fight me!" Ah! You're just like, ah!
Yeah, it's
Taking you out at
exciting
the
things are
ankles.
going down in the hashtag cute core sector.
Yeah, it's very interesting to have Duskmorn still have cute glimmer creatures, but then right next to it is the most, like, fucked up thing you've ever seen in your life.
It's
And then we
so
look
funny
back.
to be like, cast Overlord of the Boiler Bilges ETB, trigger Enduring Courage. We'll give that +2/+0 in haste. You've got
Yeah.
like this avatar horror and then the cutest dog.
And the dog's like, be free, my child. And you're like, okay, here I go. Fucking what the hell? So weird, so messed up.
What a cool
Very
game.
funny, though.
What you got for us?
I'm gonna talk about my Lich deck later.
All right.
I will talk about my Elmar and Hargild deck that I put together with, once again, stuff out of my collection, something that I've been cooking for what feels like forever. I had a dedicated, like, smaller deck box with, like, considerations. I just kept putting more and more and more into it. I'm like, damn, that's getting real bloated. And it kept growing. I'm like, okay, well, I gotta get this down to 100 cards, so here I go. So I got to work. And what came out of it was pretty great. It is definitely missing an Embercleave. But the reasons as to why we will go, you will understand as we go further into this list here. So,
All right.
Elmar and Hargild. So it's a non-black equipment and clue deck. Well, kind of equipment, kind of not, but mostly just clues. Elmar is the main focus. Hargild is the mana dork backup. But obviously, like, worst case scenario, despite what I said earlier about Hargild, if you need a Turner sideways, you'll hopefully have the option. So, what are the components? What makes this deck? What do you get when you mix spells that make clue tokens, like Armed with Proof, Merchant of Truth, Piper Wright, Ezram, Agency Chief, and Lavinia, Foil to Conspiracy, as well as the pre-mentioned Elmar. Also together with spells with built-in cost reduction, like Dargo the Shipwrecker, Aethersorn Sphinx, Junkwinder, Kappa Cannoneer, and Excalibur Sword of Eden, and other random miscellaneous artifact matters pieces and stuff from Doctor Who. Well, you get an incredibly synergistic and low-cost deck that slaps opponents for a lot of damage and makes everyone afraid.
Hell
Good.
yeah.
Dargo continues to be a busted and fucked up Magic the Gathering card when you can just sacrifice a bunch of your generated clue tokens for, like, a 1-mana 7/5 with trample that gets a Hero's Blade equipped to it.
Those clues are mad cheap too, so you're just like getting those for doing fuck all. And then
Literally
here comes
next.
Dargo.
Here comes that boy. But what if also you're able to throw down a hasty Dargo into casting Excalibur for 0 and then equipping it?
Bro, chill, it's turn 4.
No. You know what? Because I did this shit last year around Christmas with that Dargo and Francisco deck with Embercleave.
Yeah.
And also had a turn 4 Embercleave attached to a Dargo turning sideways.
Oh, we killing them.
Yeah, no, it's fucking bananas. I still need to figure out how to balance stuff, because I learned the other day that a card that I thought would be super cool in the deck was not cool, as a matter of fact.
Many such cases.
Did not work as intended, so I swapped it out for a Frontier Warmonger to give my stuff Menace, because Menace is a good effect. I put in Lumen Grid Protector, I think it's called, or Sentinel, or whatever. When an artifact enters under your control, you tap target permanent and opponent controls.
That sounds really annoying.
Add that in with the pre-mentioned Junkwinder, where it has
that's
affinity
Lumen
for
Grid
tokens.
Sentinel.
Lumen Grid Sentinel, yeah. So yeah,
that's so annoying. It's restricted in Pauper Commander. That's very funny.
They're like, we can't have this. So one of I will mention, I normally don't put plays in here very often, but I did get to do this the other weekend. And I got to turn the Renegade Doctor sideways. Yeah, no. So I was tagging with a board. Fugitive Doctor, yes, thank you.
There we go.
Like, there's a name or a title. And anyway, I obviously don't play with
you were close.
So her effect is that you sacrifice a clue token and you can pay 5 3 red and a green to give target spell flashback in your graveyard.
I think it's 2
And
red and a green, so like
it's 2
4
red and
mana.
green.
Yeah.
Even better value.
Truly.
I got to flashback Flying Crane technique in combat before damage or before
Cool.
blocks even happen.
Hey,
Um,
yo.
so I think that was on Davy's stream. And it was like, I was like, cool. Like earlier, I was like, yeah, I'm putting Flying Crane technique in the graveyard, Sag. And then I played the Fugitive Doctor. I was like, never mind, meat's back on the menu, boys. Let's fucking go. And then turn that shit sideways. It was fucking super sick.
I think I
Um,
saw that happen. That was extremely funny. You were like discarding that, and then I'm just like, okay, cool. And then you put the Fugitive Doctor on the stack, and then I start pogging.
um, so yeah, as it turns out, that this deck is very much peak Universes Beyond shenanigans.
I'm
Not
cringing.
just because the commanders are also from the Stranger Things secret layer? It was a
Hmm.
secret layer, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a secret layer.
And then we have stuff like Piper Wright and Excalibur, and several cards from Doctor Who, including the pair that are partners with each other, Madame Vastra and
Oh, Jenny Flint.
Jenny Flint. Um, Obviously, like, shout out to Jenny Flint being like the other half that I'm like a little more interested in. Um, where whenever you sacrifice a clue or a food token, whatever, you put a +1 counter on another target creature you control. So you throw
Hmm.
out Piper Wright and all that other stuff, and suddenly you just start sacking clue tokens to start distributing +1 counters among like your pretty like low curve 3 or 2 drop creatures,
Hmm.
and start turning them sideways, and people are like, damn, this fucking sucks. Throw out Zerda, because all of my other like cost reducer resources for clues is like in other clue decks right now.
So you're like, all
Um,
right, it's the Fox's turn.
it's the get in there, and I mean, like, we got some equipment that needs some cost
Oh,
reduction, so it
equip
wasn't like too big a deal.
abilities.
Yes. Oh, so good.
All right, I'm writing
So,
that down.
note to self.
It's cute core and it works for my game plan. Okay, I'm so
Mhm.
in. Carry on.
Um, but yeah, I do have to try to figure once again, like I said, I have to try to figure out how to balance stuff with what I got on hand. And like I had mentioned, some of the stuff just wasn't working the way intended. So swap that stuff out. It's also pretty like everything's a lot more two color than initially considered when I just like, all right, I'm down to 100 cards with lands, cram everything together, call it a day. And then you're like, how many is it spells do I fucking got in this deck before I can't cast several is it spells back to back to back? Um, but the current iteration is pretty fun, and it's doing the stuff that I wanted to do, and it's definitely something I'm gonna keep fiddling with for a while, or trim stuff out where it's probably not as necessary. Yeah, not much more to say. It's just it's a cool deck. A lot of people have been pretty receptive to it.
I have been pleased to see it. Particularly your inclusion of the Doctor Who girls. I keep thinking about Jenny Flint and Madame Vastra, and just like seeing them actually like get to cook is very cool.
I think
Um,
even just a teamer version of that like type of deck would be cool. Would be super cool to see.
hmm I was thinking about putting that because like the couple of times that I tried to play them in just the precon, they were like slower and not as impactful as I would have liked. And I feel like if
Yeah,
they
they
were
don't
at the
have
head of the
the
deck
support.
and they just had the fucking best +1/+1 counters and clues cards money can buy in the 99, I think they could go so fucking hard.
Oh geez, it would be, yeah. It's
Like
just,
those
again, they
two with
need the
like the
support.
hardened scales, the Vorinclex, just all of those
Oh,
bitchy +1/+1 counters cards.
okay,
They'd be really
okay.
strong then.
Relax. Look,
Yeah,
Piper Wright
I
better
am.
be in the mix of that, and like put in as many valid background cards as you can manage, because those two would probably really love getting like a Hardy Outlander or
Oh yeah, you're so right. I think partners
Sorko
is
Sailor.
Anytime you have partners, you got to think about putting backgrounds because that's twice as much background, basically.
Yeah, like I wanted to put in guild artisans so like I could get more treasure tokens and stuff.
Oh, that's
Um,
stonks.
I'm still trying to like again. There's much to think about. Sarko Sailor would probably just be fucking super sick in this.
Oh
Like I
yeah,
don't,
like here's my large, and you have the highest life total, so there's nothing you can do about this unless it's on the stack.
Mhm.
Responses?
Yeah, no. I still think about what is now my Yidris Maelstrom Wielder background stack.
Mm-hmm.
Um and it because it was Elmar and not 11. What the hell was her name?
Cecily?
Cecily. Cecily, yeah.
Well, she is 11, so whatever.
Um but yeah, like it just what did not mesh for that, and like I don't know, I always just think about like, man, what if I had partner commanders and did the same shit for that? And it's just gross. It's just super disgusting to get away with all that stuff. But yeah, maybe more on that another day or another time. But current evaluation, deck cool, mission accomplished.
Hell yeah.
What do you got?
So I am back in the hashtag cutecore arc. Now we are hashtag Zoraline posting, hashtag Zoralich.
Lenny, don't get trigged. It's fine.
Yeah, Lenny's been playing a lot of Zoraline in the standard brawl queue, like playing against a lot of it. And I actually had some frustrating experiences trying to get bats working in EDH when it first dropped. But then I took some time off to brew other decks. I gave it another shot, built the deck on Brawl, and it shredded in 1v1. But I was like, this is really cool, but I don't know if it's got the juice to work in the 4-player 40 life mode. Turns out the first couple builds we were just fucking up fundamentally with the deck construction, and there were a bunch of cards in there that didn't need to be in there. We were like wasting slots on ramp and stuff, and this is a low to the ground aggro deck basically. So you literally don't need ramp. You just need like to draw the next bat, and maybe you include Soul Ring and Arcane Signet because they're fundamentally busted Magic the Gathering cards. And that's what we did. So we, once again, we took to MTGO, we got in the lab, we piled all of the bats that we had, and we got some more bats, stripped out basically the entire ramp package and went harder on like life gain equals burn cards. And the rebuild, it absolutely fucking shreds. All of the like Starscape cleric who, whenever you gain life, each opponent loses a life, or Viscopa guild mage who has the activated ability that you can activate multiple times. Whenever you gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life.
I love that guy.
I'm such a huge fan. We've got the Marauding Blight Priest, who's also a version of that effect. We have Cliffhaven Vampire, who's also a version of that effect. We really just like stacked those up. And even though they're
love
not like
all those cards.
you would.
I would. I like gaining life when it's not you preventing me gaining life.
But yeah, even with all of those like non-bat cards, I think the deck was like they required them. Vampires and bats hold hands mechanically, and I think it's silly, at least in the metagames where I'm playing, to ignore that relationship, and you got to just play the vampires. Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose, is one of the strongest versions of this. Like, he's literally Sanguine Bond, and he can give all of your creatures lifelink. So we needed to just like put all of those in there to be force multipliers for us. It makes all of our shitty little flyers go so much further when they don't have to rely on hitting people for 1 and 2 damage in the air to actually impact life totals. If them attacking generates an instance of life gain, then we drain them, and then I start leaving combats with everybody with life totals like 5 and 6 lower than they were before I started, and that felt a lot more satisfying. So the deck is basically just those 1 to 3 mana bats and the burn effects. So we've got Zoraline, we've got Self-Mill. It's really satisfying to put those triggers on the stack and just see the life total start melting. Especially the fucking Viscopa Guild Mage. OMG. truly one of the most powerful cards in the deck. If you just give one of your creatures lifelink and then spam that button a couple of times, you go from like, okay, I hit you for 8 with lifelink, and then you're going to lose 24.
Much to think about.
Real good. So here I am having the game of my life on Zoraline TBH. I've got Cleric class. It's leveled up to level 2, and it's enhancing my life gain, turning it from like I gain 1 life to I gain 2 life instead. And whenever I gain life, I put a +1/+1 counter on a creature that I control. So I'm swinging with like 5 bats. I gain 10 life. I put 5 +1/+1 counters somewhere. You can like stack all of that on Zoraline if you want to make her a credible Voltron threat. You can also go wide with the counters if you have something in the 99 like Tenured Ink Caster who burns your opponents whenever a creature with a +1/+1 counter on it attacks. All of that feels really fucking good. This is like temporarily before I got super into being a lich wherever I was getting life. So I was playing against a Blim Comedic Genius deck, and they are just trying to like give away bad effects. And they have a Nefarious Lich that they've got. So they cast that, and immediately I'm like, my eyes light up. I'm like, hello, yes, can I have that? And the Blim gamer's like, you sure can, it's for you. Because it actually like replaces my life gain with card draw, so anything that triggers when I gain a life actually stops triggering. So my cleric class will stop putting +1/+1 counters on things. They'll stop losing life to the whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life effects. So it's actually a really slick move, even though it provides me with a bunch of fucking card advantage. But I am reveling in my undead might. We do the whole thing where I attack and I would gain 5 life or I gain 10 life or whatever, and then I draw 10 cards instead. I'm going to clean up, I'm dumping a bunch of cards into my graveyard, and then everybody's like, wow, you're really like, you're living with this Lich effect.
Yeah, thriving in it.
Thriving even. Oh, it feels so fucking good. So we pivot the deck to being a Lich deck. We go just a tiny bit harder on effects that put things in our graveyard and focus on getting those into our graveyard as well as reanimating the things that we need to not die, to have been constantly doing that with Zoraline. A lot of those effects are within her like reanimatable ability, so she can grab the Out of the Tombs or the Cemetery Tampering or anything like that for me to start dumping stuff into my graveyard. All of that feels real strong. She can also grab the Oblivion Ring effects that I put in the deck to be interaction. Yeah. We've got our fucking Seal from Existence, which is kind of an Oblivion Ring with Ward 3. That feels extremely strong. We're also on Grasp of Fate, which is just like a gold standard for one of those scaled to commander.
It's just good. It's just good. Good rate.
Yeah, it feels real fucking good. So we've got that stuff to like protect us, and then we've got our Lich effects. We focused on Nefarious Lich and Lich's Mastery for this deck, mostly because we're primarily dumping a bunch of things into our graveyard, and that's the Lich demand that we're best prepared to answer. So we play around that, we put those on the stack, and see what happens. It doesn't ever work out for me, but it is always extremely funny. I played a game on Zoraline where I became a Lich, and then Lenny had to try and kill me through that, and I made one fucking mistake, and I swear that's what cost me the game there. I truly could have kept grinding the advantage of being a Lich against the demands that he's forcing me to answer by sending creatures at me. I, on one combat though, exiled an Oblivion Ring that I should have used to exile his Cityscape Leveler instead.
Oh, yeah. God, that fucking card.
I didn't realize that was a thing that I would need to do until it was too late, and that came down and on attacks was blowing up an impactful permanent every turn, and I'm like, shit, I have really great grind potential, but I cannot grind through a Cityscape Leveler.
Was I not there as a witness to that game? I feel like I was.
Yeah, you were there for that.
Okay, because I was like, Lenny, Cityscape Leveler, just doming you. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
That thing is fucking trample. What the fuck?
Yeah, it was a really powerful threat, and if I had just used my Oblivion Ring on that, maybe that game goes a little differently and I win instead of dying. But the Lich prevented me from dying for another like 25 or so life, and that always, like, even if I don't complete the Halo Reach Font Survive objective, I do like that I can like keep track of how much fake life that the Lich effect granted me and how like judge my success as a Lich by that. It's almost always like 25 and an extra turn past when I should have died. So every time that continues to be worthwhile.
As usual, you were up to no good with this shit.
Truly up to no good and had to be interacted with. Having a great time doing it though. Bats is a real deck. Hashtag cute core. Hashtag Zorlich.
You're reminding me to, I don't know if I ever did have it in my Furia Judge of Valor deck, but I do need to put Cleric class back in.
Yeah, I think that one's surprisingly strong. I discounted it initially, and then several years up down the road, I'm like, wait, hang on, this rips actually.
Look, when level 2 is Angel of Vitality on an enchantment, for like, if you would gain life, you gain that much life +1. It obviously
that's just the static, actually. So you can get that effect for 1 mana.
Oh, it's the +1 counter, 1 part.
Yeah,
right.
the level 2 is Heliod.
That's stupid strong, man. The fuck?
Yeah, I think you should get that in that deck, probably.
Oh, man. Cuts have already been so hard. I just recently added, Lunar Convocation to it.
Yes, that's in my Bats deck. It's an enchantment for a white and a black, and it says at the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, each opponent loses 1 life. And at the beginning of your end step, if you gained and lost life this turn, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. You can also pay 1 and a black and 2 life to draw a card. So, like, you remember Greed, or Erebos, or other Erebos, or Arkwell's Bloodfast. Like, it's literally just that same thing with gravy. And if you're in Bats, you want to play that. If you have life to spend, I think that's another good consideration. It's
if you're able to net 0 on the same turn and meet both the conditions, like, it's just good. It's just a neat little card, neat little.
It's good shit, dude. Check it out.
Utility thing. Yeah. Yeah, again, I did bear witness to that game.
Mm-hmm.
God, every time I keep seeing Cityscape Leveler, I'm like, why do not I don't have one. I'm like, dang it.
Might want to consider getting your hands on one of those. As it turns out, I'm strong Magic the Gathering card.
Yep. Pretty good.
All right, what you got for us?
This is going to be a bit of a shorter one. Anti-Flash Curses continues to be cool. I think compared to some of my other decks, including, like, if I had to compare it to, like, Odric Bloodcurse, where I can sometimes make radical changes at will, despite not playing, like, the deck for a bit, I'd be like, this seems like a good addition. It's intuition at that point, because I played that deck for too long. This one is going to be taking a little bit slower time to do, like, upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
I do think I will want to be getting, like, the real typical heavy hitters for Enchantress decks. So, like, Sithis, probably, whatever the hell, Calyx, Ondu Spirit Dancer, Citizen Champion, the works. If my local store actually had that shit in stock, to which none of them do, because people like holding on to their Magic the Gathering cards, or they're worth such cheap pennies that the minute they show up on a wish list, people whip open their phones and, like, go to the website and be like, give me the card now. Gimme, which I'm also guilty of doing.
I was just going to say, editor, can you run the tape? I think Cole has done literally that.
Editor's note, I did in fact do that. As a matter of fact, I did that for 2 copies of Machine God's Effigy.
Oh.
because I was like, I've been waiting to fucking get this fucking card, and it finally showed up on the inbox. And so I got 2 of them. What will I do with them? Put them in a blue X, like, artifact whatever deck. But anyway, that's a story for another day. So, of the things and changes that have happened ever since the deck has been put together, they have been wildly different in terms of payoffs, but holy shit, Curse of Clinging Webs did some work against you the other week, and you were just like,
OMG.
can you, oh no, the Curse of Clinging Webs. Yes, the Curse of Clinging Webs, Quinn. What are you gonna do about it? Fuck.
I'm in Grixis. There was basically nothing I can do if I don't counter that on the way down. Like, yeah, we've got our Feed the Swarm or whatever, but
you gotta have that first.
yeah, the answers are pretty slim in these colors. I'm not like a green mage who just gets to Rexage or Kogla or whatever. I gotta try a little harder. I gotta think ahead. And that was on me. I didn't have the counterspell, so I got.
So Curse of Clinging Webs is from the Midnight Hunt Commander Precon stuff, I think.
Yeah, that sounds correct. It was one of those two.
Crimson Vow or Midnight Hen, whichever. One of the two. Take your pick. Whenever a non-token creature Enchanted player controls dies, exile it, and you create a 1/2 green spider creature token with reach. And at some point, I had like 5, 6, 10 spiders out. And they were just getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the freaking attack. And it was beautiful.
It was so tilting. The board kept getting wiped, which would exile my creatures, which would reset Cole's board with spiders. And he's got another curse that if they deal combat damage, they get a +1/+1 counter. So he's just like, I'll remove all of the creatures. Quinns are going to get exiled. We'll make a bunch more bodies. Also, we're sending them at you next turn. And they're
also, I'm casting Heroic Intervention to save my spiders or some shit.
Also, my spiders are dodging the board wipe BT dubs.
Weave. It's so good. So
I wasn't even a graveyard deck. That shit was tilting. I didn't even have access to reanimating those creatures from my graveyard. It was really just for the fucking the pure hatred getting them out of my graveyard. And you know what? Got to me. Fucking got to me.
But yeah, so learning how this deck can learning kind of the nuances of this deck is really interesting. But before we go into that, let's go into some of the other cards that have been absolutely bangers ever since they've been showing up. Sheltered by Ghosts is a fucked up aura.
That card's really strong.
What the fuck? When it enters the battlefield, enchant target creature, you exile target creature until Sheltered by Ghosts leaves. Then the creature gets +1/+0 and Ward 2 and lifelink. Oh, sorry. Sheltered by Ghosts says target non-land permanent. It's even better.
It's just a fucking Oblivion Ring with Ward that
it's
also
2
is an
mana.
aura.
Why?
What is going on here?
Look, and I also know, like, Ethereal Armor is back in Standard. So that shit's gonna be cracked as hell, depending on whatever. But it just in terms of that alone as a utility card that can also be brought back by Annie Flash's ETB cast ability. Ooh, fucking good. It's great. Love that.
Yeah, I hope there's a 60 card Auras deck in Standard that gets to use these, because they're putting some real juice in there. Is it Bogle's time again? Are we there? Are we back?
Are we back? Could happen. Maddening Hex has been another awesome fucking curse.
Oh, dude, fuck that card.
Alright, roll the dice. Who's getting it? It's Quinn again. Fuck.
Oh, man. I cast a Lich's Mastery, I think, on top of that one time. Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Lich's Mastery. So I'm like at like 7 life and you roll that and then you just like, all right, take 6. I go to fucking 1, land the Lich's Mastery, and you're like, all right, well, you did exactly what you said you're supposed to do. Wait until the very end of your natural life. And I'm just like, cutting it real fucking close.
Yeah, I wanted it to be close, but not that close.
Yep.
So yeah, have Maddening Hex bounce around, and then play like your Arden and be like, actually, lull them out. I'm bringing it back to this person. The person's like, fuck. It also heavily synergizes with Artist Talent, a very cool class card from Bloomburrow. I am a true believer of this card now. It's doing way too much work.
I'm starting to become a believer in classes in general.
Yeah. Not to even go into like the older classes from D&D, but this cycle. So 1 in a red. It's got 3 levels. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. Okay, cool. I like rummaging. That seems great. 2 in a red for level 2. Non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So all my enchantments are reduced by 1. Seems pretty good. Level 3, 2 in a red. If a source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent or a permanent that opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 2 instead. So, Maddening Hex, plus 2 on a roll. That seems pretty good. Cindervine says...
this fucking guy.
Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, it deals 1 damage to that player, so I would like you to take 3, please. Curse of Shaken Faith. Whenever an enchanted player casts a spell other than the first spell they cast each turn, or copies the spell, Curse of Shaken Faith deals 2 damage to them. List goes on a little bit, not so much, but when you start getting all these curses together, throw in a Curse of Bloodletting, obviously sequencing as the receiving person of this damage, but when you're taking 2 times 2 plus 2, or whatever, it adds up pretty dang fucking quick. So, yeah, super sick. And Wild Seer, also from Bloomburrow, from the pre-con.
Yeah. I like Flaming Wolf.
And enchantments you cast from hand have Cascade. And then you have a 5-mana 6/6 with Trample, because why wouldn't you also have positive power and toughness over the mana value? Just like, what the fuck?
Well, it's a green creature, you see, and those have to be the best creatures per the mana you spent on it. That's what it says in the color pie.
So when it happens to stick around, it gets super duper fucked up when you start cascading into your Enchantress cards, and then also cascading like into other curses and shit, and people are like, oh god, please stop.
It's pretty fucking good. Free spell's good. More at 11.
And then Destiny Spinner was a card that I never really had too high of an opinion on until I actually got to use it. So it's a 2-mana 2/3 with creatures and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. And you can pay 3 and a green to give target land you control. It becomes a XX elemental with trample and haste, where X is the number of enchantments you control of steal a land. You get a surplus number of curses and stuff out. Activate a couple lands, because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest, you are super duper mana positive in this deck at all times. You are rampant super duper hard. You get your Myriad Landscape back out, or you get your Croson Verge, or you get your rando only copy of a Fanch land that I have out, and you just start getting a bunch of these lands out. Get Sun Titan, or get Anti-Flash out, and you start sacking, and then you just have more mana again. And people are like, you stop that. You're like, lol and lamau. And yeah, it's just good value, and then you're just like, cool, I'm gonna animate like 2 or 3 lands. They're gonna be like 8/8s or whatever. I'm gonna sweet out on you, and people are like, can you not do that? I'm like, no, die.
I have to. I'm legally required. I also initially slept on Destiny Spinner, and then playing 1v1 Brawl really cemented its spot in my brain as like, this card owns. Because there's a lot of like mono counter spells decks in that metagame, and if you can,
that it goes a long way.
If you can just stick a Destiny Spinner and be like, all of my creature spells are resolving, or like whatever I'm casting that that protects, like this shit is landing. Or like a Rhythm of the Wild. Anything that says your creatures can't be countered is super crucial in that metagame. and it feels really
Mm-hmm.
good. And to be able to slam that in Commander and just be like, if I don't need it to protect my spells, then I also have a win condition, then I'm all the way in. I love a lot of card per card, and this is card per card. 2 of them.
I recently took out whatever Shiny Impetus, and I swapped that out for Draconic Destiny. I haven't gotten to play this one yet. It's from Brothers War, and Brothers War just has super cool cards in it, like all the time. One in a double red for an aura, enchant creature. The enchanted creature gets +1, has flying, haste, and pay 1. This creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It's a dragon in addition to its other types.
Oh.
And then when the enchanted creature dies, return Draconic Destiny to its owner's hand.
Okay, that's sweet.
So if you like fire breathing, and you like recurable enchantments like Rancor in this deck, this felt like a great addition. So into it went.
I also really like that it's got the colorless activation for fire breathing, because
instead of just red.
It's from the Brothers War set, so you can use like power stones on it. I think that's neat.
So good. I need more. But yeah, Anti-Flash good. It's kind of been like my brainworm for like the last month, it feels like, and it's a good, fun deck to play. Even in like it's more to get more game actions out of it than just pure wins, just because of the game patterns and everything.
Mm-hmm. It lets you play a lot of game per game.
It really does. I love just being like, cool, I bring this stuff back and can use it now, and everyone's like, no, your conditional Sun Titan in the command zone, no. Cool lady, Anti-Flash.
Yeah, she's pretty powerful. I'm a big fan of her work so far.
Alright, what's up for you?
Lastly, we've got one more instance of hashtag LichGang Necrobloom posting. So I had a game where we were playing on MTG Lexicon, and you were in this game. I played the Necrobloom. I'm setting up, I've got a wide board. We landed a Field of the Dead and 2 of those landfall life gain guys. So we've got our commander out. So we're like, landfall, make 2 zombies, gain 3 life. And that engine is all set up. But everybody is doing big swingies and advancing the game state meaningfully via the reduction of life totals. So naturally, my life total's coming down. And we reach a point where my fake health bar, my graveyard, is greater than my real health bar. And so I'm like, all right, timing's perfect. I'm going to cast Nefarious Lich. And we completed the Ritual of Becoming. And man, you get to do some real cool Lich shit in that deck. I played a land, gained 3 life. The Lich replaced that with draw 3 cards. And then we replaced that with Dredge 6 because the Necrobloom has lands you control of Dredge 2. So we're like, we'll mill all these cards, we'll put these lands into my hand. And then I had that guy 6 on board who gives permanent cards in your graveyard retrace. So everything that I'm milling, I can, like the permanents, I can yeet these lands that I have dredged back to cast them from my graveyard. I'm truly reveling in my necromantic might. And of course, the paladin class gamer at the table immediately shifts the game mode from win the game to kill the Lich.
Shaking my head over in the corner like, you have sealed your fate.
Yeah,
a single tear rolls down my face. How could you betray me like this?
You make eye contact with Lenny. You're like, all right, a Lich is on board. The only thing that matters is killing the Lich now. And so I start eating combats from Lenny and also some combats from Cole. And
it's the scene. Hey, people who've actually watched movies, do you remember Captain America: Civil War when Bucky and Cap are just beating the ever-loving shit out of Iron Man? Different context, same result. We were just wombo comboing Quinn every single card we could get away from your graveyard.
Yeah, they're just like, your graveyard is too thick. We have to reduce that. So they do an extremely good job of it. My
hey,
graveyard is like 50 something cards in it, and
we're
you get
like,
that all
how
down
many
to
cards?
26.
And you hold up the stack. We're like, how many cards? And you're like, this much. We're like, how many cards? And you're like, hit me and find out, bitch. We're like, fuck, fine. Turn them sideways. Let's go.
Oh man, I was doing so fucking well, and then we get to the end of Cole's turn, and before I get a chance to untap and stabilize, Lenny's like, all right, here's some aristocrats triggers, and we're gonna put a bunch of damage on the stack, and we're gonna burn you both to death. And all of the cards in my graveyard vanished, and then I died. And I was so close. My Lich gave me 50 life past where I would have died. We were truly reveling in our necromantic might that game, gamers. I was gonna fucking cast Lumra, Bellow of the Woods from my graveyard and return all of my lands to the battlefield and gain a bunch of life, and Cole sees directly through that and counters that spell.
Yeah, we're not having that shit. No, thank you. I'll have to go back and watch the VOD for that bit, but I'm pretty sure you cast something else beforehand, and I was like,
Yeah, I
no,
cast the Lich
not,
and you were like, no, not today. And then you're like, wait,
not,
hang on. No, no, that's fine. That can stay.
but
And then I'm like, all right, so I'm getting away with this. And then I try and retrace Lumra from the graveyard, and you're like, and that's where we're gonna interact, counter that. And I'm just like, no.
yeah,
Because
no,
I was
there was
gonna
like,
gain so much life and be so set up
if
for all of
if
my
you will,
plans.
if you will curse yourself with undeath, I will let you do that to yourself, because that will also be a proverbial nail in your coffin if everything goes wrong for you. But I was like, what comes afterward? Nope, nuh-uh, no, I'm good with that.
Your man really said the glory of killing a Lich will be greater, so I'm gonna let you do that.
Everyone's like, it's the bit in the movie or the show where like the villain is actively doing something bad, and everyone looks at the leader like, are we gonna stop him? And the leader's like,
You're
no.
fucking Goku throwing Cell a sensu
Yeah,
bean
yeah,
because
yeah.
you want to fight him at full strength.
Hey, Cell, sensu bean, Goku, why? But I always got that counter spell, that conditional counter spell that may also be card advantage in some way in the back burner, just in case you don't have enough mana to pay for your spell. I was ready. I was ready. Don't worry, Gohan's got this. Looks over at Lenny. I mean, okay, it's a little different, but yeah.
Yeah, you extremely died there too, but
Yeah,
you
it's
did
fine.
kill me.
I did my job. Time to go home, everyone. You died. It's time to go home, everyone.
Truly. You really did say nothing matters but killing the Lich, and you were true to that.
It was a good feeling. It was great.
Magic the Gathering. What a game. Alright. I think it's time
I
for...
uttered second place mode, and then you said, that shit disgusts me.
Oh, yeah, I did.
We could get into that, but we won't. But my play group, my first play group, one of my friends was notorious for playing for second place. He's like, I sure can't win this game, but I can sure be the last one to survive before I die. And I'm like, you fucking dick. And then we just kind of stuck around. All right, I guess it's my Lich deck time. Maybe. Yeah. So here is the assignment on the desk 2 weeks later.
Hell yeah.
This is after putting initially too many cards in the list, getting hooked up on Piru, the whatever the subtitle's name is.
The Volatile.
Ineffable? Volatile, there we go. I was like, okay, and then I have to have a Lich deck with Form of the Dragon in here, to which everyone was like, but why? And I said, look, I have a bit. I'm trying to commit to the bit. So let me commit to the bit. So I employed some people, as you are wont to do when it comes to the Legendary Creature Discord, that sometimes you're just like, look, I'm giving potentially unsolicited advice to you, but you did put the deck here, so let me get some unsolicited advice about this deck. And everyone's like, why this and why that, and cut this and cut that, and maybe do this and maybe don't do that. And they're like, this card, hey, Ugin's Nexus prevents you from getting the extra spells that you put in this deck. And I'm like, shit. We'll stay with Gerard's Hourglass, or whatever the fuck that card is. We'll keep that as the exception.
Mhm.
Everything else, though, yeah, I can go. So, and then the Commander. The Commander was the biggest thing, because like I said, it was initially Piru, because I'm like, okay, 7-mana dragon. It's an Elder Dragon. If it dies, it blows up and deals damage to non-legendary creatures, and they gain that much life. To which everyone said, you probably just die. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, you probably just deck yourself. And I'm like, right.
You do probably just deck yourself there, yeah.
So we will keep Piru in the 99. And then I'm like, someone's like, what about Snapdax? And I'm like, oh, I love Snapdax, but there's not that many creatures in here. They're like, what about Dahada, Binder of Wills? Because if you activate her ability to put stuff in the graveyard, you can still grab the Lich's Mastery. And I'm like,
now you're talking.
Okay, I see you. So, this is my Form of the Dracolich, Dahada, Binder of Wills list.
Sick.
There are several components here. It's a little awkward at the moment, and I'm not gonna lie here. God knows if I'm even gonna play this game through the Moxfield playtester, but
I will play it for you.
Primary goal is we are going to symmetrically be slashing people's life totals. So Direfleet Ravager, Rush of Dread, which is a spree spell. Scourge of the Skyclays, where you pay its kicker cost and people lose their life. Great. I wanted to put Torgar in here. Didn't really have enough room or enough creatures to sacrifice for it. But we do have the split card Revival and Revenge, because you can also gain double your life. That seems pretty good. Now, I did only put like 2 mentions for the quote-unquote meanest removal cards I could stomach. The 2 cards in question are Oubliette, to get rid of people's possibly really problematic commanders, or someone's specific problematic commander. And another one, Out of Time. When it enters, untap all creatures, then those creatures phase out until Out of Time leaves. Put a time counter on Out of Time for each creature that phased out this way, and has Vanishing for each time counter on it. Now, obviously, if the board state is incredibly clogged up, this shit is sticking around forever. Goodbye to all of your creatures until someone, like, blows up Out of Time, which...
Out of Time is one of those cards that if you get your commander locked away under that, you better start thinking about an alternative game plan.
I had Out of Time put in my Owl the Dawn Sky deck, and it's like, oof.
That sounds really annoying in that deck.
Very. And then obviously we got stuff like Ruinous Ultimatum and...
Hell yeah, best removal money can buy.
Defensive stuff like Ink Shield and Taunt from the Rampart. I don't want you touching these because I'm playing a lot of enchantments, so I'm playing Sphere of Safety. I'm playing Consulate Crackdown. You get to exile all artifacts your opponents control until it leaves, which, like, you know, that could be people's mana rocks. That could be God knows what else out there. Just get rid of it. Who cares?
Yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of this one in play, so I'm excited to see what that actually ends up removing for you.
Yeah, it felt like, obviously, we are in a post-Dockside extortionist world, so, like, God knows if this was literally just get rid of everyone's treasures. But artifacts, if we're thinking about, like, how people handle ramp outside of green and everything, this felt like an okay addition. It probably just also gets rid of a bunch of, like, utility artifacts that are not mana rocks.
Oh yeah, exiles the TARDIS, which will royally tilt me.
Well, that's my goal, so that's what I'm here to do. And then obviously we have some ways of just, like, not losing your stuff or not losing the game. Angel's Grace, Dawn's Truce as the white heroic intervention. Everybody lives. The extra turn spells here and there that were mentioned. We got Final Fortune. We got Chance for Glory.
I love that you're on Chance for Glory because you get just permanent indestructible, and if you're a Lich, you cannot lose the game.
Yeah.
Well,
We
if
also
you're a
got the
specific kind of Lich, but you get what I'm saying. Carry on.
Yeah. Also, speaking of other ways to just not lose the game, you can cast Glorious End to just end the turn.
And that's got
For
another lose
red,
the game clause, but if you're a Lich,
and
you don't care.
you don't care. And obviously we got stuff like Teferi's Protection and the like to just like get the hell out of here. Perch Protection was a card where I was like, I think it would probably be okay to play this because we're getting defensive birds, we're getting the fuck out of here. Our stuff can't be interacted with, our life total can't change. And yes, someone gets an extra turn, but that was where my mentality was thinking for the Gerard's Hourglass Pendant to prevent them from getting the extra turn. So it'd be like, cast Perch Protection, flash in Gerard's Hourglass Pendant, quote unquote, give someone an extra turn, they skip it, phase the fuck out, make birds, blah blah blah. So there's some stuff in here where I'm trying to make sure that I just don't fucking die, keep people away from me, assembled my board state in a way that allows me to get like Dahada and the other things out, while finding a way to not tutor for, but search for the Lich's Mastery in a way that feels still somewhat fair. And, you know, I also put in Nefarious Lich, because I felt like with Dahada putting stuff in the graveyard, we would still want to find ways to, like, get stuff out of there. Whether I want to add more Lich effects or not, God knows. I just feel like I hit a good balance for everything here without getting into, like, actual gameplay nuances and be like, why do I have this and not this, and blah, blah, blah. So...
yeah, I think you're in as good of a place as you can be without doing any playtesting, so it'll be exciting to see if this makes it to that stage of things and how that goes for you.
Yeah. As usual, because some people are always curious where decks are. The decks are always in the episode description, whether it's on YouTube or not. So if you do want to take a look at these, take a peek, let me know what you think. Yeah, I don't know if I will be playing this deck, let alone even putting it together. But like you said, you could play it. So like, who knows? We'll have to just see.
The assignment was just to get a Mardu Lich Brew on my desk in 2 weeks, and you've accomplished that, so consider your sins absolved.
But yeah, putting in Form of the Dragon, I did want to try to put in Form of the Dinosaur, but it just felt a little bit too risky.
Yeah, I gotcha. I think
because you are fighting something.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that it's like, all right, upkeep, deal 5 damage. Okay, your life total becomes 5, but like you wouldn't want to be doing any life gain stuff until like after that effect like kicks in, if it does, or if you're below that, you go back up to it. And then creatures without flying can't block you. Seems pretty, or can't attack you, excuse me. So you're a little more untouchable in conjunction with your Lich's effects, unless someone's like, I also have a bunch of flying dragons, fuck off, and you're like, fine.
They'd be like,
Collateral's dismissal, you're bored.
They'd be like, I see your form of the dragon, and I raise you bats.
Fuck. But yeah, I did it, everyone. It was, yeah, it was a little exhausting to try to do this, and also try to get a, I'm trying to get something together for a podcast that I'm going to be guesting on that I won't give the full details to until it actually, like, comes out, but I've had to do a bit of research and rereading, of a media on top of, like, trying to make a deck, and I was like, nah, I can't do this at the same time.
Yeah, kind of a busy week for you. But the list looks good, so thanks for your participation in the exercise and for getting that on my desk in 2 weeks.
Please do not do that to me again anytime soon.
It will happen again.
Fuck!
Babes.
Damn it! Alright, fine.
Alright, is this where we See what do you have to say if you step up on that soapbox?
It's time. It's time. You hear that music tuning in, everyone? It's fucking time for... Well, it's Titan time. It's a good theme. It's 2024. The Spell Table EDH game is going as expected. There's squirrels, gods of all kinds, lily spiders, Olympian titans from beyond the stars, and dragons, demons, and angels galore. Treasures are being made in abundance. A win is coming soon. You can feel it in your bones. But then an opponent plays the secret layered Sun Titan. And then you decide to play your game day promo Sun Titan. And you realize Sun Titan still got it. Who cares how the rest of the game goes? That was supposed to be a written intro to like a kind of blog article that I kind of started but didn't finish. So it's going to be opening for this bit of, hey, the original Titan cycle from Core Set 2011 is pretty cool. Editor's note, this is a message to the Phyrexian, Prophet of Ares, the Lovely the Medusa, and anyone else who thinks they can be trusted with Primeval Titan. No, you cannot, and all of you are sinners. Go to bed. Now, that's out of the way. I'm incredibly disappointed and so saddened here when people say that they can't play a particular Titan commander. And listen, this is coming from the biggest Frost Titan guy you could ever think of, could ever hear from. Because I'm a sick fuck, and I love freezing people's stuff. So you gotta know that I sympathize, But I do think that you're doing yourself a disservice for not at least trying them out in a deck nowadays. I can't think of how many times a Sun Titan has brought back several small things over time throughout the course of a game, if it managed to stick around. And that's still talking about recently. I'm thinking about entire board states being decimated by Inferno Titan by itself. I'm thinking of armies of zombies being conjured by Grave Titan, and sniping key pieces of people's board with a Frost Titan. It does say any target permanent, so that also means people's lands. The things people need to cast their spells. So,
hey, I'm tapping down that guy's cradle. Watch out.
Now, obviously, they need the right environment and setup to get going, and they likely also need haste or some additional form of protection to keep going. Quote-unquote Ward 2 on Frost Titan is apparently not enough sometimes, as I found out recently.
Oh.
And obviously 6 mana combined, like double of their color in 4, is a big ask when we're looking for more impact on entry. But if I'm thinking about a card or a cycle of cards that should have a home in Commander, it would be the Titans from that core set. And no, Mr. Primetime does not get the same sympathy. If we're looking at if we're talking about sheer power creep in just lands within the last few years, Primetime would be as abused as Dockside Extortion was, and quite frankly, I don't have the time for that shit anymore in my games. We have so many other resources in green that you can use, and if you're saying that your deck is nothing without Primetime, you shouldn't have it.
Speak on it.
So, just a reminder, everyone, we smoke mids around here, alright? In case you didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why I, in particular, cling to the more, quote-unquote, like, elusive and ambiguous rules of, like, fair play about how I want to play Commander and what I want out of a game. So I want, quote-unquote, fair cards, fair effects, and none of this free and undercosted bullshit, whether it's in the command zone or not. And look, I get it. We get it. Battle Cruiser isn't your jam because you'd rather prefer to ignore a vital part of your turn cycle that involves creatures and attacking your opponents. But Commander thrives in that creature space because most people play with creatures as their commander and not planeswalkers, right? And a lot of modern designs are absolutely cracked and also have to interact with combat in some way. So, therefore, if anyone is growing resources or developing a board state through combat, I feel that is way more fair than using a deflecting swap for free or some cheap-ass 2-card combo that can't be interacted with. You're boring me, I don't care. Creatures are where that shit's at, alright? I still feel like the Cycle of Titans, or anything of equivalent power to, like, Magic from, like, over 10-15 years ago, they still have a place in Commander, and you, as a Magic the Gathering player, as a Commander player, and as a Heroes Blade Vibe Check listener, have the power and fortitude to bring their power to the forefront. And whatever that means, by using clones, passively having haste, having cost reducers to cast creatures for less, reanimating them, you name it, lean into it. And you know what? Make a 3-color deck so you can have them all in there. Except for 5 colors. I don't want that shit. I'm tired of it. So, take it from the Titan guy. Take it from the Frost Titan guy. Like, I'm the Frost Titan stan, alright?
Mm-hmm.
I've had Frost Titan... Or sorry, I'm skipping... I'm mentioning Frost Titan. Look, I'm the Frost Titan guy. I was the Frost Titan guy. I still am. But listen, I'm talking about Sun Titan for a second here. So I've had Sun Titan in a lot of decks, bringing back a lot of utility pieces or key creatures on ETB, on attack. We are still talking about a vanilla 6/6 with Menace baseline, right? Audric Bloodcurse, my Bloodric deck, is a prime example of something that uses this deck, or uses this effect, to its full extent, and it fucking pays off. People kill Sun Titan for a reason.
Yep.
I've raised entire armies with a Death Touch and lifelinking Inferno Titan.
True.
And that shit is gas. It's fucking awesome.
It is tilting as hell from the other side.
It definitely is. I have gotten out early Frost Titans in a Jalira, the Polymorphous deck. I've also had it happen to me. Fuck you, Brandon.
Get his ass.
And I've seen many Grave Titans slowly value out a table in a zombie typal deck just because no one can answer their board state. For whatever reason it happens to be. They have the Lords out on top of it. Great, like we get it. Grave Titan isn't a zombie. Boo fucking who. They still have 6 or 8 or 10 zombie tokens that are getting pumped by something else, and that shit's fucking annoying. You know, like, there is a place for it. They have homes. They're still good. Just put the effort in. Otherwise, if I play a Sun Titan and I claw my way back from the brink, I'm going to be calling you out for being a non-believer. Alright?
Hell yeah. Talk that talk. Oh, beautiful.
The same way that, Quinn, you are a believer in the Cleave, I'm the believer in the Titans. And we also love Titan templating around here, so
we do love Titan templating around here. To your point, I actually just put all 3 of the Overlords from Duskmourn in my Grixis Runes Chantress deck. They are enchantment creatures, which was impactful for Marina. She'll grab all of those for me, and they're fucking sick. Overlord of the Boiler Bilges is my husband. I love him. The Overlord of my heart, more like. The fucking Overlord of the Flood Pits is so cool for card selection. The Overlord of the Balemurk is also cool for card selection. It just dumps a bunch of things into my graveyard, and you get to grab a non-avatar creature and put it in your hand. Like, mill and select is really strong card advantage, actually. Like, maybe as powerful as draw a card. I think
if you are not somehow incorporating some type of card recursion in your Commander deck, you're probably... I'm not saying you're playing Commander wrong, but there is an extra resource that people often talk about getting rid of, like, in every Commander deck building thing of, like, get rid of the graveyard. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, they're real good. I love an Inferno Titan, like you're talking about. It's real good. I play that in my Shadow Clone Jutsu deck, and let me tell you, one Inferno Titan, pretty cool. More than one Inferno Titan, now we're fucking cooking. Big fan.
I've had Inferno, Sun, and Grave Titan in my Ishin Two Heavens as one deck.
Sick.
And it would... and even over time, as I've been trying to like get that deck into a place that I'm a fan of or like really enjoy the play pattern. Like Grave Titan, I swapped that out. Should probably put it back in, but I swapped it out for that Captivating Lich.
Oh, that
Um,
one's really fun. I like that guy a lot.
Arabella just recently got into that deck, for example, because it's like I want to multiply all the low cost creatures and damages to people's face, and then I can turn Inferno Titan damage into either like a targeted deal 6 damage to one thing or just fuck everything else up. And then if I could get Vault of the Archangel activated, it's even better. Um and yeah, not even going into that many times that I've seen a Sun Titan just do the work by itself. Um Here's the list of things that I can bring back in my Odric Blood Curse deck. The Commander.
Mm-hmm.
Soul Talisman, Land Tax, Ocelot Pride, Rabbit Battery, Runelurker Bat, Terrian Soul Cleaver, Pearl and Ruby Medallion, Rezokin Needlehead, Reckless Fireweaver, Senu Keen-Eyed Protector, amazing card by the way, what the hell. Sunshot Militia, Swiftfoot Boots, Sword of the Animus, not Untimely Malfunction. Brass's Tunnel Grinder, Broadside Bombardiers, Craig Boone Novak Guard, Kellen the Fey Blooded, Sword of Hearthenhome, Touch the Spirit Realm. Like, we have removal, creatures with valid bodies, ways to dump your hand and refill it, like, the utility, and lands! Hello? Lands? Mirrored Landscape? All that shit? People always talk about, like, oh, how do you play a Boros deck where the ramp is better than, like, a green deck because of all the resources you put into it? You put Brought Back in, crack your fetch lands, go grab your basics, cast Brought Back, bring them back, do it all over again, play Sun Titan, grab the stuff again. Like, it adds up,
Shit's
people.
real strong.
It really does. And you know what? Like, I totally understand the nuance of, like, you know, maybe a Sun Titan isn't going to be played in, like, super duper high power casual or, like, in CDH. Like, I get that. But
I think if you build your deck right, there's a place for a Sun Titan in, like, a high power stacks deck where you're asking your opponents to answer demands of sacrifice or things like that, and your Sun Titan is outvaluing your opponents because you're bringing back the things that you have to sacrifice and they don't have access to that.
But yeah, again, we smoke mids around here, so that's kind of where we're at. And yeah, rips. A little bit short, sweet, and to the point this time of I think the Titans not named Primeval Titan are very cool.
I will sign off on this. I absolutely adore Grave Titan. I play that in my mono black Ashnod deck. It fills up the board with sacrifice fodder. I also have the Meep in that deck, so all of those zombies that I have made, I can later crunch the Grave Titan, and with the Meep set all of my creatures' power toughness to 6/6. And
gross, disgusting.
It fucking whips. Shout out to Grave Titan. You are just a solid homie. I think you'll always have a spot in the right decks, and
look, it also has Death Touch, so like, come on. I also am happy to have gotten that West Tech Tyrant version from the Fallout set.
I'm sick.
I slotted it and the Call Time frame Inferno and Frost Titan into that 4-color Yidris Maelstrom Wielder background deck. Is it the right place for them? No, but I did want to get them all prettied up in the same place, so that was the deck to go to.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
But yeah,
gamers, tell me about where you're still playing the Titans down below in the comments. If you are a Reanimator mage and you are reanimating a Grave Titan, tell me about that. I like that shit. If you're also on the Shadow Clone Jutsu, your Inferno Titan game plan, let me see that list. I am interested.
Yeah, I am also very interested in that. All right, Quinn, where can we be found?
You can find us collectively on Twitter at HBVC_MTG. You can find Cole at Uncommon CMDR MTG. You can find me on Twitter at Girldick Energy. We're both co-hosting at MTG Lexicon on Saturdays, so check that out for the Twitch streams where we're casting spells at each other. And podcast available wherever podcasts are sold, but you already know that. That's how you're listening to it.
How many secret images can I put into the YouTube episode this time? We'll find out.
Let's find out. Alright, let's get the fuck out of here. Later, gamers.
Peace out.